Welcome back to a Fifth of Jack Gaming, and thanks for watching. Today we're going to have another little contest between the Planeswalkers, Mind Flayers, and the Dragons. Let's see who comes on top. We decide who comes on top by who has the best cards that they open up in the pack. Alright, we're starting with the Planeswalkers. Their handy dandy art card is Drizzt. Well, that's kind of nice looking. Drizzt is drawn by Tyler Jacobson. Costs, I don't know why I said cost, but it's number 52 out of 81. And then we have a Plains, followed by a fancy art of an owl bear that costs us 2 green and 3. It's a bird bear, has trample, has keen senses. When it enters the battlefield, we draw a card. Has a 4/4 body. Celestial Unicorn costs us 2 and a white for a unicorn. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Celestial Unicorn. Has a 3/2 body. Talking about gaining life, we have a Potion of Healing. Costs us 1 and a white for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, we get to draw a card, and we can pay a white, tap it, sacrifice it, and we'll gain 3 life. And then we have a Steadfast Paladin that costs us 1 and a white for a Dwarf Knight that has lifelink. Has a 2/2 power. We've heard of Purple Rain, but here comes the Purple Worm. Costs us 5 and 2 green for a worm. This ball costs us 2 less to cast. If a creature dies this turn, has Ward 2. That means whenever a creature becomes a target of a spell or ability that an opponent controls, counter it unless they pay 2 more. It has an 8/7 body. That was an uncommon, and so is this guy. Dungeon Map. Costs us 3, and it's an artifact. Tap it, add a colorless. Pay 3, tap it, and venture into a dungeon. Activate this only as a sorcery. Dungeoneering Red Dragon is an uncommon that costs us 4 and 2 red. It's a dragon with flying, fire breathing, and when a red dragon enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to each opponent. It has a 4/4 body. Priest of the Ancient Lore costs us 2 and a white for a Dwarf Cleric. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life and you draw a card. Has a 2/1 body. And then a rare is Yon T. Malison. It costs us 1 and a blue. It's a Snake Rogue. It can't be blocked as long as it attacks by itself. And when it deals combat damage to a player, venture into a dungeon. Has a 2/1 body. We could take a Long Rest, which is another rare. Costs us 2 or 3. Costs us 3 green and X. It's a sorcery. Return X target cards with different mana values from the graveyard to your hand. If 8 or more cards were returned to your hand this way, you gain life total becomes equal to the starting life total. Exile Long Rest. Then the foil is Pixie Guide. Pixie Guide. Costs us 1 and a blue for a fairy. It has flying, and then it has granted an advantage. If you would roll 1 or more dice, instead, roll that many dice +1 and ignore the lowest. Has a 1/3 body. And then our token is the Tomb of Annihilation. Talking about going into the dungeons. For finishing that, we'll end up getting this guy, who has Death Touch. The Pearl. It's a 4/4 body. It's a God Horror. Not bad, not bad. Let's see if we can do a little bit better, though. It's going to be the Mind Flayer's turn. Let's see what they bring to the party. Alright, art card. Feywild Trickster by Eris Competi. As a number 70 out of 81. You got a mountain. Our fancy art card is Bruno the Battlehammer. Costs us 2, a red and a white. For a legendary creature that's a dwarf warrior. Each creature you control gets a +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. You may pay 0 rather than the equip cost of the first equipment ability you activate this turn, or each turn. Woo! That's a 5/3 body. We have a devoted Paladin. It costs us 4 and a white, who is an Orc Knight. Gives you a beacon of hope. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance until end of turn. Has a 4/4 body. So for that Paladin, we have the Paladin Shield. It costs us 1 and a white for an equipment. Has flash. That means we could play it at any time. Whenever it enters the battlefield, attach it to a target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +0/+2. The equip cost is 3. And then we have a +2 mace. Costs us 1 and a white for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. And the equip cost of 3. Ray of Frost costs us 1 and a blue for an enchantment. It has flash, enchanted, and then you can put this on a creature, and when it enters the battlefield, if the enchanted creature is red, tap it. As long as the enchanted creature is red, it loses all abilities. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. That was an uncommon, and so is this guy. Tagnar Demon Fang Gnoll. Costs us a red and a green. It's a gnoll who has pack tactics, and whenever it attacks, and if the attack power of the creatures were greater than 6, or 6 or greater, this combat, attacking creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. We can pay a 2, a green, and a red, and then we can double the power and toughness of this guy until end of turn. That's a 2/2 body. Another uncommon that we have is a Loathsome Troll. Costs us 3 and 2 green. It's a troll. Pay 3 and a green. Roll a d20. Activate this ability only if he's in the graveyard. 1 through 9, we get to put. If we roll a 1 through 9, we get to put the troll on top of our library. If we roll a 10 through 19, we get to return them to our hand. Or if we roll a 20, we get to return them to the battlefield tapped. It has a 6/3 body. Hired Hexblade costs us 1 and a black for an Elf Warlock. When it enters the battlefield, if mana was spent on this with a treasure, we get to draw a card and lose 1 life. It has a 2/2 body. Wandering Troubadour costs us 3 and a green for a Dragon Bard. At the beginning of our instep, if you had a land enter the battlefield under your control, venture into the dungeon. Has a 4/2 body. We got a unique art. That's also our rare of Hall of the Giant or Storm Giants. Hall of the Storm Giants. An adventure for characters 17 to 20. It's a land. If you control 2 or more other lands, it enters the battlefield tapped. Tap, add a blue, or you can pay 5 and a blue until end of turn. It becomes a 7/7 blue giant creature with War 3, and it's still a land. Our foil is Healing, or is Potion of Healing. And the final card is a Magic minigame. Magic and Minions. Well, that's a unique art that's on that card. I guess I would have to say the Planeswalkers still have it, though. That little long rest seems a little bit interesting. Let's see if the dragons can bring it home. Alright. We have a stat card for this little guy, which he's a Displacer Beast. Displacer Beast. Which he's a Displacer Beast. That's the stats that we have in them. You can run this in your campaign at home and be able to have this as a creature for you. There's our planes. Charisse, Death Whisper, costs 2, a green and a black for a legendary creature. It's a human, elf, warlock. Has Bewitching Whispers. When it enters the battlefield, we'll be able to target a creature can't block this turn. When it enters the battlefield, target creature blocks this turn if able, or it has Whispers from the Grave. At the beginning of your end step. Wait a minute, I'm saying it totally wrong. It has Bewitching Whispers. When it enters the battlefield, target creature blocks this turn if able. It has Whispers of the Grave. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. It's a 1/3 body. It's also an uncommon of a fancy art. You have a Secret Door. It costs 1 blue for a wall. Has Defender. Pay 4 and a blue. Venture into a dungeon. Activate only as a sorcery. Has a 0/4 body. Then we have a Veteran Dungeoneer. It costs 3 and a white. It's a human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, venture into a dungeon. So if you're already in a dungeon with this adventure thing, you get to go the next step forward of the dungeon as well. So let's say we're already in one, we'll be able to go to the next step. Has a 3/4 body. Gloomstalker costs 2 and a white for a Dwarven Ranger. As long as you completed a dungeon, Gloomstalker has double strike. Has a 2/3 body. Feywild Trickster costs 2 and a blue for a Gnome Warlock. Whenever you roll 1 or more dice, create a 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature token with lion. Has a 2/2 body. Then we have the Power of Persuasion. Costs 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Choose a target creature card an opponent controls, then roll a d20. 1 through 9, return it to its owner's hand. 10 through 19, its controller puts on the top of the library or at the bottom of their library. Or 20, we gain control of it until end of turn. Oh, we gain control of it until the end of our next turn. Aberrant Mind Sorcerer costs 4 and a blue for a human elf shaman. Has psionic spells, so when it enters the battlefield, you get to choose a target instant or sorcery card in our graveyard. Roll a d20. 1 through 9, we may put that card into our library. 1 through 9, you may put that card on top of your library. 10 through 20, return a target creature card from your hand. Wow, I'm just messing it all up. Return that card to your hand, or it's a 3/4. It has a 3/4 body. Reaper's Talisman costs 1 black for an equipment. Whenever equipped creature attacks, it gains Death Touch until end of turn. Whenever equipped creature attacks alone, the defending player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Is an equip cost of 2. And then a rare that we have in the pack is Dungeon Descent. Enters the battlefield tap it for a colorless, or you could pay for it, tap an untapped legendary creature you control, venture into the dungeon. Activate this only as a sorcery. Funny thing of it saying a legendary creature, because we have in the death, the Dragon Lynch. Costs 2 and 2 black. For a dragon zombie that's a legendary creature, has flash, flying, and when it enters the battlefield tapped, you may cast this guy from the graveyard if a creature not named him died this turn. It's a 5/2 body. The foily is you see a guard approach. It costs 1 blue. It's an instant. You can distract the guard so you tap a target creature, or you can hide. Target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn. Hexproof makes it so they can't be targeted with spells abilities that your opponents control. And with all this venturing, we got the Tomb of Annihilation token. And what's the reward at the end? Well, you get this guy. The Poriel is a god horror who has death touch. It's a 4/4 body. Well, I think the dragon took it because this guy seems pretty good. And out of all of them and everything, it seems like that's the best card out of the bunch. Even though Long Rest is very, very close. But I always say the dragons take it. What do you think? Put it down in the comments down below. And thanks for watching. And if you're liking the content that we're putting out, like, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon to be notified about any future content. Until next time, we'll see you later.